Welcome to another episode of the MMA Lock-Cast. I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMA LOTN. This week we're going over UFC Vancouver, which is blessed with a fucking banger of a fight. We got Donald Cerrone against Justin Gaethje, sure to be probably fight of the year in my opinion. That if it plays out the way it should, we're gonna get a real fucking treat on Saturday evening. I can't wait for that. We also got Glover Teixeira against Nikita Krylov on the card as well. That should be a great fight in terms of the light heavyweights. And a lot of questions will be answered in that fight too. See a lot of debate about it. Very close line as well, so I can't wait to talk about it. But we're going to be starting off with the casuals. We got my man Big Rob in the house. What's going on?
Hey.
So we had our dogs meet for the first time today. If you guys have been following me on Twitter, you guys know that I recently became a little dog papa. I don't know what to call it. Dog father. Dog father just sounds too it sounds too hard. Like you're trying too hard.
You guys have a fur baby now.
Like his name's Alfred, so I like to call it. I wouldn't even mind having him as like the pet butler.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like Batman's butler is fucking Alfred. I'm like, he's my pet butler.
We can train him to do things.
Yeah, fucking get my drinks and roll a J for me.
That'd be next level.
How fucking awesome would that be? If
That'd
you guys
be
are
so
able to
wild.
do that with your pets, let me fucking know and give me the game plan. But they're getting along, so I'm good. Hopefully I can bring him out more often too, give him another doggy friend. But he's super chill right now. He's just trying to chill the fuck out. It's a awesome relationship. I'm sure you guys are going to see a little bit of it on Twitter eventually. They're going to be together quite often. So. And my man LV, I know you want to fucking all the dog pictures of my dog. This guy keeps tweeting me. He's like, "Yo, give me this dog. Take more pictures of your dog." I'm like, "All right, we'll get it." So this week for the casuals, we're going to be going over Ottman Azaitar versus Teemu Packalén. This was a fight that happened this past weekend at UFC 242. So they were actually in Abu Dhabi for this fight.
Oh, okay.
So it was like the main card for us, which normally starts at 10 p.m. Eastern, started at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, wow.
Because there's like prime time over there.
Yeah.
Right? And it was hot as balls, apparently. Like, it was like 50 degrees Celsius in the arena.
Oh, well, so that, even for the fighters, that's difficult.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's actually like a stadium, so it has an open roof.
Okay.
However, for this event, they put like a softer roof on top of it in case of any rain or anything like that. So I don't know if that probably made it worse, like keeping all the fucking heat in there.
Yeah, maybe they didn't have sufficient cooling.
It was nuts. Like that's the one thing everybody just kept complaining about. Like I was melting out there. Even like the commentators are saying it's so fucking hot. It was nuts. That did not play a factor in this fight. I just thought it was an interesting fact for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is with 140 remaining in the first round of Azaitar and Packalén. It was a fun fight up until pretty much this point, because we were blessed with a pretty good knockout right there.
Whoa. That was insane.
Did you see his legs shaking?
Yeah.
He put his ass out.
It was so fast.
Like he covered that distance very quickly, and he landed it like right behind the ear. Apparently, that's like a really, like there's a lot of guys that go down just from getting hit there.
Oh wow!
It's like your equilibrium pretty much.
Let's see.
But
he
threw everything into that.
Oh wow!
The guy was out right away. He was out.
Oh yeah,
He's twitching immediately.
Does his heart stop and stuff?
No. His heart's still beating. Like his body is just doing like primal things right now, like primitive, super, just trying to keep his body alive. Boom.
Yeah. Oh.
It's one of the cleanest knockouts.
Like he knew, like he didn't even go back to hit him again. You know, some guys they go, I see them go, oh, I gotta hit him 3 or 4 more times. Like
that aesthetic, that scenario of how he drops, there's no doubt about it. This guy is fucking, because he didn't even try bracing himself. Nope. Arm up, fucking, he was out.
Yeah,
dude.
he was done.
That was one of the crazier ones I've seen. Ugh. Just landed so perfectly.
The sound too.
Fucking nuts.
They captured that. It's so good.
It was insane. Yeah, the sound of it as well.
Oof.
That was one of the crazier fights. I don't know who the fuck this
impressive.
Ottman Azaitar guy is. Like, obviously, I studied him, and I did have a bet on him, and obviously I won. But never heard of him before. UFC debut, somehow
Okay.
has 550,000 followers on Instagram. Normally, fighters have like in the tens of thousands, unless you're Conor McGregor, where you have like 2 million followers, 3 million followers, or something like that, right?
What are you thinking? What do you
I
think he
don't
could
know.
be?
Maybe he's just really big on that side of the world.
Maybe.
I've never heard of him. Like his brother fights in the UFC, but like he's pretty new too. He's only had like 1 or 2 fights as well. But yeah, it's weird. Like normally, I know anybody that's big enough to have at least 100,000 followers, right? And then this guy comes out of nowhere. Maybe he's like a model or some shit over there as well. I think he's from Turkey, actually. I don't know where the fuck he's from, but
Who knows, man?
did
That's so weird.
the other side of the
odd.
world. I was listening to a podcast with Theo Vaughn and Logan Paul. Do you know who Logan Paul is?
I don't.
He's like a YouTube star, like a
Okay.
Canadian, or you might have heard of him. Remember the Troy McClure from Simpsons? I
Yeah,
think his
yeah,
name-
yeah.
You may know him from, or whatever the fuck it is. Anyway, this guy, fuck, I lost my thought. Oh, this guy, he was known for putting up like a vlog video, or a vlog video. Wow, that's so redundant. A vlog of him in a suicide forest in Japan.
Okay.
And there was like a video of somebody actually hanging there. Somebody just recently committed suicide, and he posted it on YouTube. And everybody thought it was like like he's like a late teenager prankster kind of kid, like
Okay.
super pretty boy. Like girls go crazy for him. He has like the most followers or some shit.
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
something nuts. He got a lot of backlash for that. But he's boxing this guy who's a YouTube star in the UK. I've never heard of it. Nobody's ever heard of this fucking guy. He's only big in the UK. You know what I mean, so it's
okay.
crazy how like we have two
Localized.
sides of the
Yeah.
like Logan Paul is huge here. I guess it's vlogs. You know what? I kind of know him through like other means, like comedians and stuff talk about him. I don't expect like a normal person to know him, but
Okay.
KSI or whatever the fuck the guy's name is, he's huge in UK, and they're boxing each other. They're celebrities, and they're boxing each other. And they boxed each other once in Manchester, sold out the arena, and sold a fuck ton of pay-per-views. Never boxed a day in their life.
So, do you
They
think this
threw
gonna be
a-
a trend?
I think so. I think so. So they're fighting again at the Staples Center. And they just so magically happened to go to a draw the first time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So now they're fighting in the U.S.
Oh my
at the
God.
Staples Center. Yeah, and there's a big actual professional boxing fight that's going to serve as like the co-main event to it. So a lot of
Okay.
people are like, "Oh, that's such a spit in the face. Why are you gonna? These guys deserve to be headlining themselves, right?"
Yeah, of
And now
course.
you have like these YouTube stars coming. That's why the whole Justin Bieber and Tom Cruise thing came up.
Right.
I'm sure you heard about that. I'm not sure 100% actually, but there was some rumors around where Justin Bieber was calling out Tom Cruise like, "I'll fight you. Let's go box" or something like that. And then he took it back eventually. But everybody for a minute was talking about who would win, Tom Cruise or Justin Bieber. I'm like, why are we even talking about this
That's
shit?
so weird. But you know what? I saw this video circulating this last couple weeks where it was like Tom Cruise for president. Did you see
No,
that?
I haven't seen that actually.
It's so weird. I don't know if it's really him or not, or someone to look like. But basically, check it out. Basically, he's telling all the reasons why he should be the next president.
Oh, he's saying it himself. I
Himself.
thought it was somebody else trying to explain
No.
it on his behalf.
Dude, it's weird, and it's him. Like it looks like him, like telling all the reasons why he should be the next.
Fucking Trump is in office, so I guess like anything is possible at this point.
Yeah, so I don't know
Right.
if it has anything to connect it to
Watch
that.
Scientology just take over America. Could you imagine
Oh
that
my
shit?
god!
Fuck. All right, appreciate you as always. Thanks, Big Rob. We gotta
Thank
get
you.
we gotta get into some fights,
You got
man.
it, brother.
We gotta fucking get to the business. All right. Hopefully our dogs are good. They can go play with each other wherever the fuck they want. But we are gonna do the recap of UFC 242, which was not a good event for me, unfortunately. There was a lot of fucked up shit that happened at that event, and we'll quickly go over it right now, just so I can exercise those demons. But we had a pretty rough night that night. So we had kicking off that parlay at a 2-unit parlay at -102 odds. Mirbek Taisimov goes out there and lays an egg against Carlos Diego Ferreira. You know, I'm not too concerned about Mirbek's performance per se. It was more so Diego Ferreira, like the game plan that he came out with. His coaches are fucking top notch as well. They know the way to beat Merabak Taisimov is just to stay in his face, cover range. The way he was covering range with his double jab and then the cross that he came with while stepping forward and trying to, cut off Taisimov. He was landing a lot, and that was giving Merabak a lot of trouble. In that third round alone, Merabak threw fucking jack shit. Like, I felt like he was broken by that point, and I truly did not believe that. Like, you guys can go back to the last video and see that I told him, I'm like, if Diego Ferreira falls too much in love with his striking, he's going to get fucked up in this fight. And he absolutely, like, proved a point that night. I won't fucking doubt him again in that aspect. With the perfect game plan and the ability to keep pushing forward and breaking your opponent, that should, he may not be as technically good as Merabak Taisimov, but that type of style implemented with that type of striking or even that level of striking from a Ferreira, it's going to break guys like Taisimov. So it was very, very, very discouraging for me to see Merabak do that, because one of the guys I was watching with, I'm like, yo, this guy is like the lightweight uncrowned king. This guy's a monster. And he gets fucking whooped. Like, after that first round, he just disappeared. And again, I'm not going to chalk it up to Taisimov not showing up. It was fucking Carlos Diego Ferreira and his game plan just staying in his fucking face. So that one really hurt to see, just as, even as a fan of Taisimov. I thought he had that fighting in a bag. I told you guys I didn't really feel comfortable betting him straight at anything worse than minus 200, because I know Ferreira is still a threat, but I didn't think he was going to put on that type of performance. And I had to parlay him with Otman Azetar, who I probably should have gone with, maybe even like lock of the night deep on. Even the fight doesn't go to decision. Don't know why I overlooked it. So I'm definitely not going to be overlooking any fights on this upcoming card at UFC Vancouver. But just quickly finishing up with a recap of UFC 242. So that is an L. The lock of the night play, minus 215 odds on Andrea Lee. Man, Joanne Calderwood showed the fuck up, man. Like, she really did. I was very impressed with her takedowns. I was very surprised that she was able to continuously, fire back at Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee's always been a consistent fighter. She knows what she needs to do to get the W, even if it might look like a close fight on paper. She normally kind of pulls away from these chicks, especially later in the fights. But her gas tank was really gassed, man. Or her gas tank was pretty like fucked after that second round. So that was very discouraging to see. I'm not going to call it a robbery. It is what it is. So minus 5 you on Andrea Lee right there. Had a dog of the night play on Davey Hamosh. 0.5 units at plus 304. I knew the concerns going into this fight. I was actually a little bit impressed actually by Islam Makhachev's his stand-up. I thought Davey Hamosh, if it kept it on the feet, I thought Hamosh was going to be able to knock him out. Maybe not knock him out, but like rock him on the feet and then eventually like follow him to the ground and grab a submission. He's pretty explosive. He has a lot of power, but Makhachev was just faster. He was able to outpoint him on the feet, and then in that last round, eventually, had the better cardio and was able to hold out top position and stay free of any submissions that Davey Hamosh was going to throw up. So minus 0.5 U on that, and then going on to my co-main event pick, I had 1.5 units at minus 145 and 0.5 units at minus 134 on Edson Barboza. I had to take the extra 0.5 unit shot as the odds kept getting better. I was surprised that they were getting better because on paper, I just didn't see how Paul Felder was going to win this fight. Edson Barboza has been taken down by a lot of opponents in the past, but they don't have the level of wrestling, or Paul Felder doesn't have the level of wrestling that those guys have. And Felder, he still wasn't able to really take down Edson Barboza here. Barboza actually goes for a takedown and gets it as well. So that was very impressive on his end. But it was a close fight. It really came down to that second round. And after watching it again, I'm not calling it a complete robbery. I thought that Paul Felder, he, even though he did get taken down in the round, he did the most of the damage in that position as well. And then I thought he won the rest of the round too. So I'm not gonna complain about it. Minus 2 units on Edson Barboza. We end the event at minus 9.5. So that was very, very shitty to do, shitty to have, especially, kind of going on a two event winning streak after that, or right before that. But we're right back at it. I had actually a play on Bellator as well. I actually had 2 plays. We'll start off with the one that was a push. I had 2.5 units on Ryan Bader at minus 170 to win inside the distance against Chicago. It ended inside the distance, but it ended up being a no contest. We all know what the fuck happened with that. So that ended up being a push. And then lastly, I had 2 units on Emmanuel Sanchez at minus 126. feel like I should have gone a little bit harder on that. That guy has great value, especially going up against unproven talent like a Taiwan Claxton. So plus 1.59 units there. I think I was like minus 7 point something units on the night. Rough, very rough. Not the type of night that I wanted, but I feel like I have a trio of great plays that I was able to make a little bit earlier today, so I can actually break those down a little bit more for you guys. But yeah, with breaking down fights a little bit deeper, I'm going to skim over a couple fights as well. So, quick thoughts on UFC Ottawa, or sorry, UFC Vancouver. Great card in my opinion overall. I think there's a lot of fun fights here. Even just starting off from the bottom of the card, Ryan MacDonald versus Louis Smolka has the promises to be a pretty scrappy and fun fight. Brad Katona against Azure should be an interesting grappling matchup as well in terms of who can impose the grappling more. Cole Smith, Miles Johns, kind of the same type of fight. Sakai versus Tybura has me a little bit excited. Misha Cirkunov against Jimmy Crute, great fight. ACJ against Uriah Hall, amazing fight. The return of Todd motherfucking Duffee, I'm super excited for that. Glover Teixeira against Nikita Krylov. Will Glover continue his gatekeeper status? Is he going to continue to, turn away these guys that are trying to get a title shot? Who knows? And then obviously we have the potential fight of the year and Donald Cowboy Cerrone against Justin Gaethje. Amazing card for an UFC on ESPN Plus. Yeah, ESPN Plus. You guys are getting spoiled with this fucking card. All right, let's get the fuck right into these fights. I'm going to quickly gloss over Kyle Prepolec and Austin Hubbard. Hubbard's coming off that loss to Davey Hamosh, where a lot of people expected him to get tapped in the first minute. Unfortunately for Davey Hamosh inside the distance bettors, Hubbard was able to take him to a decision, but he still took an L there, and he's coming up against Kyle Prepolec, a Canadian guy that I kind of know from the area, fought on a couple shows that I was helping out on. Cool guy, great guy, had a win over Cody Fister on the regional scene before he got the call up to fight Nordine Taleb. I believe that was on very short notice as well. Lost that fight. I'm not too super impressed by either guy here. I'll go with the Canadian guy by decision, but I wouldn't bet on it strictly off of that advice. I'm not impressed with Hubbard. Very inactive guy and not the best. He has a lot of experience, but I think that Prepolec has the skills to beat him. Not gonna bet him though. Next up, we have Louis Smolka against Ryan MacDonald. This is a fight I'm kind of interested in. A part of me, like a slight part of me, wanted to really bet Louis Smolka in this spot. He's at minus 210 now. If he continues to come down, I might think about it. But it's just so hard to trust Louis Smolka with money. Maybe a small stab, maybe if he gets down somehow to like the minus 175, minus 150ish range, I would consider it. Because his stand-up may not be the best, but his ground game is pretty good. I'm very impressed by his grappling ability. His scrambles are insane. More often than not, he finds his way on top. As long as he's fighting a guy that he can beat, like a Suma Derji, who impressively was able to stay out of most submissions from Louis Smolka. But I think with Ryan MacDonald here, it's going to be interesting to see how Smolka deals with the length that Ryan MacDonald is going to be bringing into this fight. I'm not super impressed with MacDonald's ground game. He did get reversed a couple times on the regional scene by some guys that he probably shouldn't have. A lot of guys that were giving him problems. He still ended up pulling out these victories, and he even had, a couple of submission victories there, a couple of rear naked chokes. But I don't think he's going to be able to pull that off on a Louis Smolka. My only concern here is if Ryan MacDonald somehow lands something on the feet, rocks Smolka, and then eventually gets a TKO or a submission of some sort, just like the Matt Schnell type of fight. Louis Smolka, we got to kind of question his chin at this point. He's been around for a while. He's taken some beatings, and Ryan MacDonald may not have fought the best competition on the regional scene before he, made his UFC debut and lost to Chris Gutierrez by completely getting outworked on the feet. Louis Smolka is going to definitely give him some problems. So I'll go with Louis Smolka here. If he would make like the minus 150ish range, I'd probably make a small 1.5 unit play on him or something. But as of right now, I have no interest in playing him above the minus 175 range. But I am going to take him to win probably by submission in the second round. Next up, Skelly against Jordan Griffin. Skelly, great wrestler, has been out for a while now. He hasn't fought since November of last year. but he was scheduled to have a fight with Jordan Griffin earlier this year, got injured, and they rebooked the fight. So good for them. They get an extended training camp for each other. I think they've been training for each other for maybe like 6 months now. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of game plan both of these guys come in with. Overall, I think that Jordan Griffin is a better fighter. I think he has the better stand up. He's just been. I think he's experienced the type of game plan that Chas Skelly is going to kind of bring to this. Dan Ige, I believe, has a better top game in jiu-jitsu than Chas Skelly. Chas Skelly obviously is a little bit longer and lankier than a Dan Ige, but I think that Jordan Griffin, with his striking alone, should be able to keep Chas Skelly on the outside. I don't think that it's going to be too hard of a fight for Jordan Griffin. I like the line at minus 130-ish, minus 125-ish, but he's definitely plunging now. A lot of people are jumping on the Jordan Griffin train. He's getting up to the minus 150-ish range now. So I don't really have too much, not much of a knack to bet Jordan Griffin here, unless his line gets a little bit closer to even again. But it's hard to pick against my man Chas Skelly because I have a lot of love for that guy. But I'm going with Jordan Griffin here. I think he's going to win by decision, and I think that he kind of makes Chas look bad while doing it too. I hope the best for Chas, but I just don't think this is a good fight for him here. So I'm taking Jordan Griffin by decision. Next up, we got Brad Katona against Hunter Azure. So on first look, I was very intrigued by Brad Katona in this spot. I've always been a fan of him, even though I've bet against him a couple times. Cashed once, lost once. But it seems that if you have the pace and cardio of a Merab Dvalishvili, you should be able to out-grapple Brad Katona, who himself is pretty much a grappling fighter and likes to impose as well that way. And you might get that in a Hunter Azure. He showed a lot of good grappling in his last fight. It was unfortunate that he wasn't able to get the finish against his guy on the Contender Series, even though he had the guy compromised plenty of times with a lot of solid leg kicks. If he's able to implement those early against Brad Katona, I could see him kind of, finding success and getting the victory. But I have something about UFC debuts. You guys know that. A lot of them have burned me in the past. It's impressive, 7-0. He has a great wrestling background as well. Brad Katona, great grappler himself too, has the SBG camp behind him. This one's hard to pick, man. You're getting Brad Katona roughly around the minus 160 range. I don't feel comfortable playing him at that. If it gets a little bit closer, I might think about Brad Katona. I'll take Katona to win. Probably won't bet him, but if you do want to get a play on this, I would say Brad Katona, but wait until it gets a little bit better. I think there is money going to be coming in on Hunter Azure again. I think most, as the week goes on, people are going to find out who Azure is. They're going to fall in love with his wrestling background and probably go for it there. But I don't know. I like Katona here. It's going to be hard for me to bet Azure, but I'll take Katona by decision. All right, let's move the fuck along. We got Marvin Vettori versus Andrew Sanchez. I do have a bet on this fight. I'm taking a 0.5 unit stab at plus 257 on Andrew Sanchez. What's it at now? It's still sitting at plus 257 on Sportbet. I really like Marvin Vettori. I think he's a great fighter. I think he has a lot of potential still. He's coming off that victory over Cesar Ferreira. He had the loss to Israel Adesanya before that, but he's definitely grown. That the Cesar Ferreira fight wasn't an easy fight going into it, but he kind of made it look easy after that. He was landing a lot on Cesar Ferreira. Ferreira wasn't really able to implement his game plan of trying to clinch and keep Marvin Vettori close. And then in this fight, he kind of has... I'd say he'd have the edge on the feet here, but I think that once the fight does get close, I think Andrew Sanchez will have a little bit more success than Cesar Ferreira did by keeping the fight close to Marvin Vettori. I think he's going to get him down multiple times in that first round, maybe the first round and a half, and I think that he can hold it together enough to make it the full 3 rounds, and I truly believe that he'll win the first 2 rounds strictly based off of grinding the fuck out of Marvin Vettori. He did it last time around against Marc-Andre Barriou. He was my lock of the night play that night as well. when you get a guy as strong as Andrew Sanchez, and he has great grappling credentials as well, and he's working with TriStar as well, Faraz Zahabi definitely comes up with the best game plans and knows how to utilize guys to the best of their ability. And we all know what Andrew Sanchez is about. Andrew Sanchez is about. He's really good at on wearing on guys, on grinding on guys, on zapping of them of their energy. But he's also had issues in the past with his cardio. So I believe we saw a bit of improvement in his last couple fights with his cardio. He may have lost he did definitely win that round against Marc-Andre Barriault, where he just would not let go. And to have that type of grip and have that strength and try to hold down a guy in Barriault who's trying to go for a finish and try to get the victory that way, he did a very good job of nullifying that as best as he could. And I think he has the ability to do that to a guy like Marvin Vettori, but I could definitely see Marvin Vettori winning in the third round as well. But I am going to take Andrew Sanchez by decision. I think that he definitely should not be lying this bad. Anything above like the plus 225 range, I think that's a lot of disrespect. I think a lot of people are forgetting what Andrew Sanchez is all about and probably just drinking a lot of that Marvin Vettori Kool-Aid after he beat a guy in Cesar Ferreira. Andrew Sanchez, I think he is technically better than Ferreira, has the better entries, is stronger, has the better wrestling overall. So I just don't see how Andrew Sanchez is not able to get Marvin Vettori down for the first at least round and a half consistently. And then hopefully he can survive for that last round and a half, last round. But I think that he's definitely worth a stab at plus 250 and above. So I made a 0.4 unit stab that profits roughly about 1 unit. I didn't want to go the hardest on it because one thing that I'm really high on, especially if you guys have been watching me for the last 50, however many episodes, 53 episodes now, you guys know that I love guys with cardio. Cardio is a very big factor in terms of who I bet. And when you see improvements in guys, you gotta and especially when it matches up with their skills, you gotta hope that and kind of know that their cardio is going to continue to get better. And it obviously goes in conjunction with the type of offense that they're fighting as well. Sorry, the opposition that they're fighting. If those guys aren't able to set up a crazy pace like a who am I trying to think? Like a Dominic Cruz or somebody like that, we know that their gas tank is probably going to be a little bit more prolonged, and we shouldn't worry about it as much as when they're going to fight a guy like Dominic Cruz or TJ Dillashaw or something like that. So with Andrew Sanchez, I think that he'll be fine with Marvin Vettori. Vettori has good footwork, but I don't think he's going to set a crazy pace on Sanchez. And I do believe he will have slightly better cardio than Andrew Sanchez in that third round. But I think that we will see improvements from Andrew Sanchez and him slowly continue to achieve the potential that we saw of him after he came off of the Ultimate Fighter, just absolutely wrecking shop there. So I'm taking Andrew Sanchez by decision, but that third round is going to be a little bit of a nail biter. And it's an official bet as well. 0.4 units at plus 257. All right. Next up, we got Cole Smith against Miles John. Both of these guys like to kind of set a grapple-heavy approach. Miles Johns likes to test it out on the feet a little bit more, likes to throw those wrestler winging right hooks like I always talk about. So when guys kind of have rudimentary striking like that, it's kind of a red flag for me. I like Cole Smith in this position. He's going to be the bigger guy. I think he's going to be the stronger guy as well, even though Johns looks cut as fuck. But I think just with Cole's size alone, he might be able to get the better of these wrestling exchanges. I know Johns is a credentialed wrestler as well too, but I don't believe that he should be as heavy of a favorite as he was earlier today. He was roughly around the minus 160-ish range, I want to say. Let me confirm that number. Yeah, minus 150-ish range, and now he's sitting closer to minus 125. So a lot of love is coming in on Cole Smith. The wise guys are betting Cole Smith here, but I don't know if that's the way that I would feel comfortable either. This is I'd say this is a very close fight, and now that it's getting lined a little bit closer, it's kind of telling the truth a little bit more. I like Cole Smith's style of just consistent grappling. You guys know I love grapplers. His cardio seems decent as well. He went 5 rounds in the fight before he came to the UFC. He had a really good performance against the UFC veteran Mitch Gagnon, who may not have fought that recently before that, but I just love the style of a Cole Smith but he's coming up against a guy who I think will give him a little bit of fits with the grappling too, and Miles John. So it's kind of a toss-up fight here. Kind of go dog or pass, I believe. I wouldn't be surprised to see at like -110, just dead even come fight night. But we will definitely find out who the better grappler is and who is better at implementing the game plan. I'm going to go with Cole Smith here just because of his size and just his cardio too. I think he might be able to outwork Miles Johns here too. So we'll see. No real bet for me right now. Maybe that might change. I just can't confidently say that I'll bet it later this week. But I do like Cole Smith here to win by decision. Next up, we got Augusto Sakai versus Marcin Tybura. Sakai is coming off a 4-fight winning streak where he beat Thiago Cardosa. Then on the Contender Series, he beat Marcos Conrado, then Chase Sherman, then Andrei Arlovski, which was probably the biggest one of his career. And then he comes in here against Marcin Tybura, who's coming off a loss to Shamil Abdurakhimov. It's interesting that they're matching these guys up the way they are. There's been a lot of guys that were fighting, people that lost before. Normally they like to match up guys that are like on winning streaks or something like that. But that is not the case here. So with Augusto Sakai, we're getting a guy that kind of likes to just keep it standing, likes to strike. When I feel like he feels like he has his opponents a little bit gassed and a little bit out of the fight, he doesn't mind taking them down and trying to get the ground and pound finish there, kind of like what he did against Chase Sherman. But in the Andrei Arlovski fight, very, very close. I was, I don't know if I can say that I was in the camp that scored it for Arlovski, but it was definitely a very close fight. I think that he's kind of lucky because Marcin Tybura doesn't really present anything super special now. It's kind of sad to see him kind of derailed. I liked him very big in that Stefan Struve fight, which is why I believe I played him as my lock of the night play. And then Shamil Abdurakhimov, he just goes out there and gets knocked out. Insane. That one kind of really hurt. But I think in this fight, I don't think Sakai has the craziest knockout power. I think Tybura has the better footwork here. I think he has the better ability to mix it up too. It's pretty much a dead even fight. I'm going to look into this fight a little bit harder, just due to the fact that I like Tybura, even though he's 1-3 in his last 4. I think he still has skills. Look at those 3 though that he lost: Fabricio Verdum, Derek Lewis, and Shamil Abdurakhimov. Obviously, the Derek Lewis fight is a fight he was winning, and then Derek Lewis does his Derek Lewis shit. I'll go with Tybura here by decision. I wouldn't mind seeing what the over looks like. If it's like over 1.5, I'll probably look at betting the over 1.5. But knowing the odds makers, they'll probably do over 2.5 or something like that. I don't really like betting those, but we'll definitely check it out and see how that goes. But I'm going to take Marcin Tybura by decision. I like him, man. I don't think the most of Sakai. He probably should have lost that fight against Arlovski. Doesn't move the best. Marcin Tybura mixes it up a lot better. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Marcin Tybura try to take this fight to the ground every now and then to just keep Sakai on his feet, or on the tip of his toes, I should say, and get the victory that way. So decision for Tybura, just an all-around MMA beatdown. Maybe not a beatdown. Probably a little bit closer. But I'm taking Tybura. Maybe a possible bet, too, if he gets to plus money. Maybe. All right, next up we got Misha Cirkunov versus Jimmy Crute. Misha Cirkunov, man, he is just running into unfortunate situation after unfortunate situation. His chin definitely needs to take a chill pill. It's been 6 months since he's been knocked out by Johnny Rocker. Before that, he completely dummied Patrick Cummins, choked him out with an arm triangle. And then before that, got finished by Glover Teixeira and Volkan Uzmir before that. So he's had a rough little stretch, also 1-3 in his last 4. He has a very winnable fight in Jimmy Crute ahead of him. I think he's the better grappler here. I think that he is the better stand-up striker as well. I just think that he has issues when it comes to his chin, and Jimmy Crute definitely cracks like a motherfucker. He was able to finish Sam Alvey, even though Sam Alvey got up after and was protesting the call. I think it was just a good enough shot that put him out. And he is tough. He's gritty. He has a good chin. And if he finds Misha's chin, I think he'd be able to rock him and put him out as well. So it's hard to trust Misha Cirkunov for money nowadays, unless he can, put together a couple of wins where he shows that his chin is still there. It's just tough to bet somebody with such such issues with their chins. It's tough. I love Misha as well. He's a Toronto-based guy, or at least I think he's moved out to Vegas now. But he used to train at the Extreme Couture up here. Used to come by the gym that I work at as well. Great guy. Has all the potential in the motherfucking world. But he's just been running into a lot of hard hitters. Jimmy Crute's probably going to be one of them as well. But if Misha sticks to a really good game plan, maybe even tries to go to the grappling almost immediately, I think he has a good chance of winning this fight. I know one thing that is almost a sure bet here is the fight doesn't go to decision. It's sitting at minus 350, so that's a little bit too steep for me right now. But I'll take Jimmy Crute by KO. It hurts me to say that. I'm going to say first round KO, and Misha Cirkunov just has to go back and reevaluate shit. Maybe go to heavyweight, dude. He's a pretty stacked light heavyweight. If he puts on a little bit more pounds, maybe you could just stick around a heavyweight and just fight at a natural weight. Fuck it. All right, next up, we were supposed to have Michel Pereira against Sergey Kandozoko. Unfortunately, Sergey got injured. So hopefully they can still get Michel Pereira on the card here because he's very entertaining. A lot of people want to see what he has to offer in terms of the encore to his Danny Roberts knockout, and I am one of those people. I promised to show you guys Alfred before we finish this. He's actually just chilling under the desk, probably napping. I'm not sure how he's napping with all my jibber jabbering going on, but he's cute as fuck, I promise. All right, next up, my lock of the night play. We got Antonio Carlos Jr. against Uriah Hall. Let's start off with Uriah Hall here. 14-9, very underwhelming record, especially coming off that terror run that he had during the Ultimate Fighter series, and then obviously losing to Kelvin Gastelum in the finale, kind of laying an egg after that performance. Let's see. Since the Kelvin Gastelum loss, he's 3-2, 5-2, 5-5, 7-6. Pretty underwhelming for a guy that we thought was going to be like the next Anderson fucking Silva. We know what he's about. He has a great stand-up game. Loves the spinning shit. Caught Gegard Mousasi with that a couple years ago, but then eventually Gegard Mousasi comes back in and just absolutely lays it on Uriah Hall pretty easily. Krzysztof Jotko was having a lot of success against Uriah Hall as well. That fight could have easily been stopped near the ending of that first round. And then he eventually catches Jotko. Paulo Costa completely steamrolls him. Bevan Lewis tees off on him for 2 rounds. And then, Uriah Hall just lands the perfect punch to finish Bevan Lewis and get the finish in the 3rd round. It's so tough to see the type of Uriah Hall you're going to get, but one thing that is always consistent with this guy is if you stay in his face and don't let him get comfortable, he's not going to have any activity. There's even times where Bevan Lewis was kind of just standing there and Uriah Hall still wasn't really capitalizing on the stoppage of movement from Bevan Lewis. So it's interesting to figure out why the fuck he is so gun shy. Like in the Bevan Lewis fight, I think he only had 7 strikes in the first 2 rounds and then eventually had the finish in that 3rd round. But he just his lack of output is very, very concerning. The fact that he's always kind of banking on that one-shot KO, and he's kind of lucky in the Jotko fight and the Bevan Lewis fight for those things to happen. So it's going to be fresh in his head still, knowing that he has that in his back pocket, that he can just go out there and just land a bomb and possibly finish some of these guys. But when you have a durable guy like an Antonio Carlos Jr. who has such a smashing ground game as well, it's tough. It's going to be tough for Uriah Hall. I think that Antonio Carlos Jr. will get this fight to the ground with relative ease. Maybe not on the first shot or the second shot, but he will. His strength, his size. He is one of the biggest middleweights out there easily. And just his brute strength of getting some of these guys down, the way he was able to get down Ian Heinisch on a consistent basis, I think he's going to have even a little bit easier of a job against a guy like Uriah Hall. It's a no-brainer for me here. Antonio Carlos Jr. deserves to be the lock of the night play. The only thing that is a little bit of a concern is that 3rd-round gas tank of his. But even that, I was kind of impressed with what he had to offer against an Ian Heinisch. He was able to catch a good sweep there. And, he did reverse the position. He did slide off on top, but I'm still impressed that he was able to stay in the fight for as long as he did. I think that even if it gets to the third round against Uriah Hall's activity and the pace that he sets is not enough to really gas out an Antonio Carlos Jr. I think that Jr. is going to have success on the ground, and I think he'll even get the tap probably in the first round, maybe even in the second round, but I don't see it even getting to the third round. So I think that the minus 175 is a great range for him. I think right after I bet it, it kind of went a little bit higher. He's sitting roughly around the minus 180, minus 200-ish range. So I kind of got lucky with the minus 175 that I got at William Hill. But it's only a matter of time before people, realize the kind of stylistic matchup we have here. Antonio Carlos Jr. does like to come forward. He can be hit, but he does a good job of rolling with his shots. And he does a good job with closing the distance. And then I think once he gets Uriah Hall up against the cage, he's going to have no problems dragging him to the ground, controlling him there, and then eventually getting an arm triangle or a rear naked choke. I definitely see him finishing Uriah Hall in the first round here. So I don't really think we need to worry too much about the third round possible cardio issues of an Antonio Carlos Jr. here. Yeah, it would really surprise me if this actually went past the 1.5 mark. But I think there's a lot of value on Antonio Carlos Jr. Better than minus 200, I would say. If you guys can get him at that range, I would definitely go for it. He is my most confident pick on the card. He is my lock of the night play. Yeah, not much more to say other than that on that fight. I love Carlos here. I think he's just getting better too. The Ian Heinisch style and pace was a little bit too much for him, but I don't think that Uriah Hall is going to set that type of pace and set that type of pressure that would, cause him to gas out or cause him to even go to a third round. I think once he gets to the ground, it's almost pretty much a wrap, and I think that Carlos Jr. is going to get the finish. So I think he gets back on track. It's unfortunate that he had that 5-fight winning streak against Ian Heinisch snapped, and now he fights Uriah Hall, and I think he submits Uriah Hall first round. I'm going to call arm triangle choke. Poor Uriah Hall. I was so looking forward to him to being like a star in the UFC. That's something that the UFC was really lacking, and I think that they thought he was going to fill that mold, but unfortunately he is not. All right, next up we got Nikita. I almost skipped a fight. We got the return of Todd Duffee against Jeff Hughes. So Todd Duffee is coming back after 4 years and 2 months off. Insane. That is the longest stretch I believe he's been out for. Actually, between his Phil DeFries and Anthony Hamilton fight, he was roughly out for about 2 years, and now he's coming back after 4 years. How does he come back? Does he come back as a completely different fighter? Does he come back as a wrestler? Or is he going to come out there and just completely murk fucking dude? You know what I mean? I think that stylistically, this is a very good matchup for him. I think that he could definitely get the finish here. I think he's going to be obviously the faster of the two. If this does get past the first round, I think that Jeff Hughes has an advantage in terms of cardio. I think that he'll probably be able to grind out Todd Duffee if it gets past the second round, past the first round. But I'm just so discouraged by Jeff Hughes' last fight. I did have him as a lock of the night play against Maurice Green. He fought him pretty much the fight before that and comes out there and lays an absolute egg. You have the complete game plan that you need to beat this guy and just refuse to implement that game. He just did it for 5 rounds against the same guy a couple fights ago, and then he comes in there and lays a complete egg against Maurice Green. It was so unfortunate. Like, it was very, very. It sucked. Let's just put it that way. When you have 5 units on a guy like Jeff Hughes who there should be no reason he shouldn't win this fight. Go out there and lay an egg. Obviously, you're going to be upset. And I was definitely upset. But I think that Todd Duffee's going to come out here and just put a fucking shocker on. You can't just auto bet against Todd Duffee because he's been off for 4.5 years. Nate Diaz has been off for so long. He comes back and has a masterful performance against Anthony Pettis. And, we don't know how Todd Duffee's going to come back. And either I would bet the fight doesn't go to decision, but I think that's minus 365. So that's obviously out of betting range. You just stay away from this fight. I'm being honest. If you want to get crazy, go with the guy that's plus money. I'd go with Todd Duffee. So I'm going to take Todd Duffee by first round KO. But don't read too much into the narrative of him being off for so fucking long. I do like to think about that sometimes in some cases. But with a guy like Todd Duffee, with how explosive and how powerful he is, he could put his fucking lights out within a minute. So cardio wouldn't be an issue. None of that shit's going to be an issue. So I'm going to take Todd Duffee by first round KO. Next up, we have my last play of the night that I actually just played. I had 1.2 units on Glover Teixeira at plus 103. Yes, Glover Teixeira is at plus money now, so I had to fucking take the shot. I truly believe he's worth it. Let's just go over his last 2 fights. Both fights he was rocked in. Both fights he was able to gather his wits by grappling his opponent and eventually getting them down, quickly reversing the fight. The Carl Roberson fight was probably the craziest one, where he was going for the takedown. Carl Roberson unleashed some elbows, clearly rocked in. You could have stopped that fight. I probably wouldn't have been mad at that. But Glover Teixeira rises up from the dead, takes down Carl Roberson, and eventually works himself to get an arm triangle choke victory. Insane how he's able to do that. Even in the Ian Cutelaba fight, I thought he ate a couple good shots, and I think that it's kind of answering his chin issues conversation. You know, Alexander Gustafsson put him out with repeated damage over in the 5th round, way back in 2017, and then Anthony Johnson. Who the fuck does not fuck up? Who does not get fucked up by Anthony Johnson? So I think even the chin issues narrative is a little bit overblown. Yeah. You know, Corey Anderson didn't put him out. He has pillow hands, so I get that. Misha Cirkunov couldn't do it. Carl Roberson and Ian Cutelaba, they tested him, but he still stayed in there. He got the takedowns. And I think that he's going to easily be able to get Nikita Krylov down as well. I don't think he'll have much issue closing the distance and getting him down. He does still throw heavy. He is very rudimentary in his striking, like I've said in the past, but he can still throw. I think he has a lot of heat behind his hands, and I think he'll make it very difficult for Nikita Krylov. But Krylov, you know, I don't want to say too much bad about him either, because that guy has a lot of potential. I think this is a bad stylistic matchup for him strictly due to the grappling advantage that Glover Teixeira will have here. We've seen how smashing of a fucking top game this guy has. He's really, really good. He's able to flow from side control to full mount to half guard. It's insane how well he is able to transition on the ground, especially with being how old he is. I know that's a huge narrative out there as well for a lot of people, saying that Glover's up there in age. I think where is he getting at? He's at 39 years old now. But when you get to these higher weight classes, that's when the power sticks around a little bit more. Maybe the chin might go a little bit, but strength and power alone might be able to win for most guys. But with Glover Teixeira, you're getting a lot of good technique on the ground as well, so that definitely helps his case. And Nikita Krylov doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, in my opinion. I think that Glover will successfully get him down, and I don't know if Krylov will be able to put him out in that first round. I think the second round is kind of where Krylov might be able to find victory, but his gas tank also is very questionable as well too. He's not a guy that likes to go to the third round often. I think all of his fights are pretty much a finish. Yeah. When's the last time you saw a third round? He hasn't seen a third round since he fought Soa Pelele, and he lost via punches in the third round against a heavyweight in Soa Pelele. So let me just say that. I think Glover has decent cardio, man. And I think if this fight does get to the third round, I think he can pull off a victory there. I really wanted to bet the fight doesn't go to decision, but it's at like the minus 305. If it, for some goddamn reason, comes better than minus 250, I might have to make that a lock of the night play as well. But I do love Glover Teixeira here to get the first round submission. I'm going to say arm triangle choke. I love the arm triangle choke today, but I think that Glover Teixeira will definitely find himself in that position and get the easy tab against Nikita Krylov. If Krylov is able to keep this on the feet, though, he should be able to make this fight interesting. He can use his kicks. He could use that to kind of keep Glover on the outside, but I think Glover somehow will find his way inside with punches, maybe even catching a kick. I know Krylov is a great karate fighter, but I still think that, Glover Teixeira will definitely be able to get the takedowns here. And I don't think that Krylov has the greatest movement. He has good movement, but I don't think he has the greatest where he'll be able to keep Glover Teixeira away from him the entire fight. So I'm going with Glover first round sub. I like him at plus money, so I would recommend betting him at plus money if you can get it as well. I think he wins this fight and continues his status as gatekeeper. He's not going to be a championship holder, but I think he'll stick around the top 5 to 7-ish range and just weeding out the guys that probably shouldn't deserve a title shot. And in my opinion, man, Nikita Krylov, he has all the fucking potential in the world. So if he's able to pull this off, this is going to be the biggest one of his career, at least the biggest name in his career too. And I can't wait to see kind of what it sets up for him at the top of the division. And this is a division that needs new guys. This is definitely a division that requires some new blood. And we have that in Johnny Walker and Alexander Rakic. But it kind of stops there. There's Jimmy Crute out there. Excuse me. I feel like I'm forgetting one more name, But there are definitely some guys out there. I don't know why the fuck this chair is making so much goddamn noise, but I apologize. All right, let's get to our main event of the evening. Donald Cerrone versus Justin Gaethje. Just to give you guys a perspective on how crazy this fight is probably going to be, the fight doesn't go to decision as minus 530. Yeah. In fucking sane. All right, let's kick it off with Donald Cerrone. He's coming off a barn burner of a fight against Tony Ferguson, where he made probably the worst decision in his life by blowing his nose at the end of the second round, puffing up his eye, and pretty much restricting his vision in that eye, and Tony Ferguson gets awarded the victory. I'm glad they didn't do the rematch because Tony Ferguson deserves a motherfucking title shot, and he was definitely winning that fight. And Donald Cerrone, he kind of gets himself set up for a decent fight here with Justin Gaethje as well. You know, Gaethje's coming off a big win over Edson Barboza, so I guess that Donald Cerrone can kind of continue his momentum that he's been on since he beat Mike Perry, Al Iaquinta, Alexander Hernandez, had a great fight with Tony Ferguson, and a win over Justin Gaethje should, you know, cement himself in the top 5 as well. So great fight stylistically. Let's break it down a little bit. So Justin Gaethje, we all know that he loves his, forward pressure. He loves to throw leg kicks. His striking defense leaves a little bit to be desired. You know, he kind of just shows up, doesn't really look, and I think a lot of guys are able to kind of punch him around that guard. Dustin Poirier had a lot of success doing that, which is why I think he won that fight, and absolute hard as well too. Justin Gaethje beat the fuck out of his legs. It was pretty evident that Dustin Poirier was limping around a lot in that round. His leg was fucked for sure, but he still managed to generate enough power to rock Justin Gaethje, overwhelm him, and then eventually get the finish. I believe that was the 4th round in a crazy fucking fight. Where's that? Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. Yeah, that was his 3rd last fight. 4th round, 33 seconds in. That was an insane fight. But Justin Gaethje's been putting it together, man. He was a pretty decent underdog going into that James Vick fight. Same with the Edson Barboza fight, and he goes out there and knocks both those guys in under half a round. Insane performances by him. I love that he was going kick for kick against Edson Barboza to start off that fight. We all knew that kind of was probably how it was going to start, and I'm glad it actually fulfilled that expectation. I think if he's able to implement the leg kick game against Donald Cerrone here, he should find success. But I think he needs to be very wary about the counters because we know Cowboy's going to be expecting those leg kicks. He's a great kickboxer and Muay Thai fighter himself, so I'm sure he's prepared enough to check those as best as he can. But just the ferocity and craziness that Justin Gaethje throws those leg kicks with, I'm sure enough will get through to actually land some damage on Cerrone. But remember when I was talking about Justin Gaethje's striking defense leaving a little bit to be desired? I think that Cerrone has the precision and combinations to, land around the guard of a Justin Gaethje and rock him. I think that this should be slightly lined a little bit closer. I'm even interested in seeing what the Cerrone inside the distance is, plus 210. I don't know if that gets to around plus 250. I might have to take a very small stab on that as well, because I think that Cerrone has a lot of tools to actually finish this fight inside the distance as well. If he's able to withstand the leg kicks, if he's able to withstand the pressure, say all we want about the pressure, but Justin Gaethje's pressure mainly comes from him walking forward. He does throw bombs, but it's not as consistent as we kind of remember. If Dustin Poirier was able to continuously throw out shots there, jabs, and keep Justin Gaethje kind of on the end of his punches, I think Cerrone will have a lot of success with that as well. He's very, very accurate with his strikes. He can pretty much throw from anywhere. He does decently going backwards. Like when he's not getting absolutely overwhelmed, he can land very good counters. And I think that just Justin Gaethje's lack of striking defense is going to be his downfall here. He could absolutely go out there and decimate Cerrone in one round and just completely overwhelm him and finish him, and maybe with some body shots or something. But I think the longer this fight goes, it definitely favors Donald Cerrone. I'm probably just going to stay away from this fight in total. Fuck, I know I was talking about possibly betting the Cerrone inside the distance, but that it's a very tough fight to pick, man. I know a lot of people are strictly going on Justin just due to his pressure, but again, striking defense just leaves a little bit too much to be desired. I saved that yawn. Whew. Yeah, man. I gotta go with Man, this is such a hard fight to pick. I'm gonna go with a no bet, but my pick will be Donald Cerrone. I'm gonna go with Donald Cerrone. I think that he outstrikes Justin Gaethje. He gets Gaethje's respect by landing consistently. I think that he evades the rudimentary striking of a Justin Gaethje minus the leg kicks. I think if it's going to be very pertinent for him to check those kicks as early as possible. Let Justin Gaethje knows that he's ready for that. Um, you know, works his angles, works his foot movement, uh, uses his legs a lot too. I would be kind of surprised to see Justin Gaethje go for a takedown or anything. That probably would be his safest way to win this fight to secure it. I think that he has good enough wrestling to stay out of any submissions. That's Cerrone might throw, but Cerrone is pretty slick with his jiu-jitsu as well. But I'm gonna take Cerrone by third round KO. Yeah, I'm taking Cerrone by third round KO. I just don't know if I'll bet it. This is a very, very close fight. It's tough for me to find reasons to lay good hard money on Justin Gaethje just due to his lack of striking defense, and probably not the most clean striking technique either, which leaves himself open against a very accurate striker in Donald Cerrone. But again, the concern for Cerrone is how he reacts to the pressure, because sometimes he's showing he's okay with it, and some other times he's kind of folded. And then Justin Gaethje, the concerns with him, striking defense. We don't know if he's going to be able to take Donald Cerrone's shots. Cerrone is a very hard kicker as well. He's going to be able to land some of those head kicks, I believe, and it could be trouble for Justin Gaethje. So I'm going to take Cerrone by third round TKO. Probably a no bet. The only thing I would be slightly interested in is Cerrone inside the distance, but it's at plus 210 right now. Not the number that I would want. I would want at least a plus 250-ish. So we'll see if it gets around there. But as of right now, I feel like I'm going to stay firm with the 3 bets that I currently have. As I've told you guys, 0.4 unit stab on Andrew Sanchez at plus 257. Then I also have lock of the night play on Antonio Carlos Jr. at minus 175 over Uriah Hall. And then a 1.2 unit play at plus 103 on Glover Teixeira over Nikita Krylov. Love those plays. I am going to do my best to stay firm on just those plays. But if some props are too juicy to pass up, I might have to take a stab. So we'll see there. But and also, if the Glover and Krylov fight doesn't go to decision, gets better than minus 250, if it does get better than minus 250, I might make it a lock of the night play. But if it continues to stay above minus 250, I'm just going to stay away from it in general. So that's pretty much it for UFC Vancouver. I promise you guys I'll show you Glitch. Or not Glitch. Glitch is Big Rob's dog. My dog's Alfred. Let me see if I can get him up here. Alfred, come here, boy. Yeah. This is Alfred. Yeah. He's a cute little dog. He is a dachshund. Dachshund? Dachshund? Not sure how to say it. I'll be with you in a second, buddy. What you do? All right. You guys might see him a little bit more. But he is a fucking awesome dog. So, first time dog owner, by the way. So I'm trying to do my best by being the best papa I can be. All right, that's pretty much it from my end. Make sure you guys are following me at MMA LOTN on Twitter. Subscribe on the YouTube channel. I got some really, really fucking cool shit in the works, man. I'm super excited for it. Yeah, Combatant Stores will be back with a little bit of a bang. With a bang, not a little bit. With a bang, and also some other projects that I'm very interested in starting up and seeing how they go. I wish I could share it with you guys, but I want to keep it under wraps until I can legitimately give you guys something to check out. All right, MMALOTN.ca is the website. At MMALOTN is the Twitter. Check out the tape index. That shit's right there for you guys to go and gamble away and prepare as much as possible. But I have my 3 plays right now, and that's it. Okay, I gotta shut the fuck up because I keep talking. I'm out.